Labour's Justice Minister, Alex Davies-Jones, is under fire after a fiery live TV exchange in which she was accused of flat-out lying over the true cost of the government's Chagos Islands agreement. Appearing on GB News, the minister was pressed on newly revealed figures suggesting the controversial deal will cost taxpayers 10 times the amount the government has publicly admitted. Davies-Jones stuck firmly to her line, insisting that the cost is £3.4 billion, not the staggering £35 billion alleged by Conservative critics. She dismissed the higher figure outright, saying, "The government does not recognise that figure at all." The minister claimed the Prime Minister has been completely transparent about the expense, even going as far as to argue that the deal amounts to less than 0.2% of Britain's defence budget. A sum, she said, smaller than the cost of building a single aircraft carrier. But her reassurances are now being directly challenged by explosive documents obtained through a Freedom of Information request. Those documents, released by the Conservatives, show that the Government Actuaries Department had initially calculated the true cost at £34.7 billion in nominal terms. For critics, this is proof of a deliberate cover-up. For supporters of the government, it's a political storm over a vital strategic decision. One they claim is essential to maintaining Britain's military presence in the Indian Ocean and protecting national security. Whichever side you're on, the footage you're about to see captures the moment live on air when the interviewer calls the minister out, point blank, over this enormous gap in figures. Roll the clip. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. We have released our new I'm Not Far Right t-shirts. There are two different variants which come in black and blue. You can find them at britishstand.com or check the link in the description. Let's get into today's video.
Ask you about the Chagos Islands deal, because there's been a lot of debate, hasn't there, and dispute about the figure of this deal, how much it actually costs. And in public, Sir Keir Starmer has put it at £3.4 billion. But there's a Freedom of Information request, and it's the front page of the Daily Telegraph today, that puts the true cost at 10 times that, at £35 billion. Has the government intentionally misled or lied to the British public?
No, and I want to be very clear with your viewers today that we do not recognise that figure at all. The Prime Minister has been forthright in saying that the true cost of this is that £3.4 billion figure. It is less than 0.2% of the defence budget, which is less than the cost of an aircraft carrier. And all of that in order to keep national security safe. The United States are on board with this agreement to make sure that we can maintain that military base on Diego Garcia for national security, and we think that is what's needed in order to protect our British citizens.
Right, Alex, I just want you to be clear on that, because we have had the Shadow Chancellor, for instance, on this morning talking about this and quoting about this, and these figures have come as a result of a Freedom of Information Act request. So are you sure what you're telling us is correct?
I'm very sure, Eamon. The government does not recognise this figure. The stated figure that the Prime Minister has said is £3.4 billion over the course of the lifetime of this deal. It's around £100 million a year in order to maintain that military base on Diego Garcia, in order to maintain national security, and that is the true cost of this scheme.
The Telegraph today says this is an official document produced by the government's own actuary department, and it puts the figure at £34.7 billion.
And I've told you, we do not recognise that figure. The true cost of this scheme over the lifetime of the deal is £3.4 billion.
Is this a good deal for Britain? I mean, lots of our viewers asking this morning, well, the cost would be zero if we weren't actually handing something back to then lease it back for however much it costs.
For the cost of 0.2% of the defence budget of the United Kingdom, less than the cost of an aircraft carrier, we are maintaining that strategic military base in Diego Garcia, safeguarding the future security of the United Kingdom and ensuring that our allies, such as the United States, have access to that. We think that is the right course of action and the right deal to make.
In other news, a heated political row has erupted after a former Conservative MP publicly defended a wave of anti-migrant protests that swept across the UK over the weekend. Heather Wheeler, speaking to the media, rejected claims that such demonstrations were rooted in extremism, insisting there was no problem with proudly displaying the Union Jack. Her comments come after thousands took to the streets in dozens of towns and cities, voicing anger over the government's handling of the migrant crisis, a movement Wheeler says reflects a breaking point for Middle England. A former Conservative MP has defended anti-migrant protests following their mass demonstration on Saturday, declaring there is no problem with waving a Union Jack flag. Speaking to the media, Heather Wheeler hit out at the woke society for depicting it as the bad thing to do, branding it outrageous. Thousands of Britons demonstrated in dozens of cities across the nation, expressing their outrage and frustration at the ongoing migrant crisis. Discussing the outpouring of protests, Wheeler said there comes a point where Middle England says, "I'm not putting up with this anymore." Wheeler explained, "I've always been fascinated over the last 40 years that I've been involved in politics, how different groups can categorize other different groups. Their truth is not the same as our truth. There is absolutely no problem having a flag of St. George's, there's no problem having a Union Jack flag, and there's no problem wearing a Union Jack dress. Why these people have managed to take the woke society and build this up as the bad thing to do is outrageous." Criticizing the counter-protesters at the events nationwide, Wheeler said their actions towards concerned Britons make them look hideous in comparison. Wheeler said, "I don't think people were thrown out of pubs and restaurants wearing Union Jack dresses when the Conservatives were running the show. But it's completely obvious that this is nothing to do with racism, nothing to do with fascism, and so the Antifa people just make themselves look hideous. Let's keep it down to a dull raw, and then everybody will understand we're protecting our children and our families, that's what this is about, and the government needs to understand that." Asked by host Dawn Neeson if she believes the Labour government is listening to the concerns of the public, Wheeler cast doubt on whether the announcements made during the summer recess will actually be acted on. Wheeler told the media, "I'm fascinated by the announcements that they're making through the summer when Parliament isn't sitting. It's the sort of thing Mr. Speaker used to go completely nuts about. I don't think I've heard anything from Lindsay recently, perhaps he's away understandably. But it is wrong that you've got almost Labour dog whistle politics when almost all of England just doesn't believe they're actually going to do it. So when they get back in September, the first 2 weeks are always incredibly busy in Parliament, so we'll see how many bills they lay, how many statutory instruments they lay, and how many delegated legislation they lay." Noting the ongoing situation in Epping, Wheeler said the use of the migrant hotel and subsequent protests have torn the heart out of the community. Wheeler concluded, "I happened to be in Epping a few days ago to see what was going on at the Bell and surrounding villages, and the feeling from families is that they just do not want these people at that hotel, which was a perfectly vibrant and successful hotel. It's like it's torn the heart out of the area, and so making mistakes like that, I think things do need to change." Wheeler's remarks underline the growing tension surrounding the UK's handling of the migrant crisis, with her defense of recent protests highlighting a sharp divide in public opinion. She framed the demonstrations as a legitimate expression of frustration rather than an act of extremism, accusing critics and counter-protesters of misrepresenting their motives. However, her comments also carried a pointed warning to the Labour government that the public's patience is wearing thin and symbolic gestures will not replace tangible action. With Parliament set to reconvene in September, Wheeler suggested the coming weeks could prove a crucial test of whether ministers are truly prepared to address the deep-rooted concerns reverberating through communities like Epping. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.